It was a Thursday afternoon in Kenosha, Wisconsin, the kind of day that disappears into the blur of ordinary life. School was out. Music played through the speakers of the Juga household. 15-year-old Kaye was dancing in the living room with her mother, Stephanie. It was their little ritual. Laughter, music, a slice of peace in a chaotic world. Minutes later, the illusion of safety shattered. A hooded figure in black slipped silently through the open garage. No alarm, no warning, just 7 deafening shots captured faintly by a neighbor's doorbell camera. Within seconds, an ordinary afternoon turned into a mother's worst nightmare. Stephanie was in the bathroom drying her hair when the bullets rang out. She didn't hear the first one, but she heard the scream. She heard the second. She knew something was terribly wrong. She ran toward her daughter's room, and that's when she saw him. Not a stranger, not a masked intruder. It was someone who used to eat dinner at their table. Someone who had once been welcomed in with open arms. Her daughter's ex-boyfriend, Martis Fuller, 15 years old, holding a gun. Her instincts kicked in. She tried to reason with him. She begged. She pleaded. "You don't have to do this," she said. His response was chilling. "Yes, I do." He fired again. Wounded, bleeding, and in shock, Stephanie barricaded herself in the bathroom and called 911. She didn't know if her daughter was still alive. She didn't know if the shooter was still inside the house. She didn't know that her lifey and her family's had just been rewritten forever. What happened next would not only rock a family, but an entire community. It would expose the cracks in how we view teenage love, safety, and obsession. Because what led to this moment wasn't a random act of violence. It was a slow, quiet spiral into control, manipulation, and jealousy, all disguised as love. And the signs? They were there all along. Martis Fuller wasn't a stranger to the Juga family. In fact, at first, he was one of them. He played football. He ran track. He smiled at the dinner table and laughed at family movie nights. Kaye's little brother looked up to him. Her parents thought he was respectful, polite, maybe even a positive influence. It was the picture-perfect teenage couple, a cheerleader, and an athlete. The kind of young love you'd expect to fade, not explode. But behind the charm was a boy who couldn't stand the idea of not being in control. Martis wanted constant connection. Not love, surveillance. Kaye had to FaceTime him while doing homework. Text him constantly when she was with friends. Answer every call, every message, or he'd erupt. Stephanie noticed it first. She tried to intervene, gently. She sat Martis down and told him his behavior was getting out of hand. She told him he needed boundaries. He laughed. Then he ignored her. She minimized things. She made excuses. She was 15, too young to see that what she was in wasn't romance. It was emotional hostage-taking. And slowly, things got worse. At school, Martis started getting aggressive. Once, in a crowded hallway, he physically blocked Kaye and demanded her phone. She had to call for help. It took school security to pull him away. After that incident, the school stepped in. They changed both students' class schedules. They warned Martis, "One more incident, and you're out." And he did it again anyway. Cornered Kaye. Intimidated her. This time, teachers saw it. Cameras caught it. He was expelled. That wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Martis's perfect boy image was crumbling. No school, no sports, no future. But instead of seeing the consequences as his own doing, he blamed Kaye. To him, she hadn't just left a relationship. She had ruined his life. What came next would be a cold, calculated descent into revenge. Because Martis didn't just want closure. He wanted Kaye to pay. After the expulsion, Kaye finally pulled away. She blocked Martis's number. She stopped taking his calls. She unfollowed him online. But when you cut off someone who believes they own you, their anger doesn't die, it grows louder. Martis didn't just get upset, he got dangerous. He began stalking her, walking by the house slowly, staring up at her bedroom window from across the street, especially at night, parking near her job, waiting, watching, and calling, always calling, even from other people's phones. He'd get a friend to call her, and when she picked up, he'd grab the phone. It was a game of psychological warfare. Kaye was 15 years old. She had to ask friends not to post photos when they went out together, afraid Martis would track her location. She left her first job at a laundromat, not because she wanted to, but because she didn't feel safe. He knew where she worked. She feared he'd show up. One wrong moment, and she could be alone with him. She wrote her boss a heartbreaking note. "Due to the situation in my personal life, for my safety, I need to find a job where he won't know where I work." This was not a breakup. This was a girl in hiding from someone who used to sit at her dinner table. By April 2019, Kaye thought she was starting fresh. A new job, new boundaries, a second chance at peace. But Martis wasn't letting go. He told friends, "She ruined my life." And then, chillingly, "I want to kill her." One friend thought he was joking. Another didn't take it seriously. No one told the police, until it was too late. May 9, 2019. It was a Thursday. Ordinary. Calm. At 2 p.m., Kaye Juga picked up her daughter from school, just like always. They pulled into the driveway of their Kenosha home. The garage door rolled open. They laughed, played music, danced around the kitchen. It was one of those rare little moments when everything feels light. No one realized a predator was already watching. Across the street, Martis Fuller was in the trees at Horizon Park, dressed in black, watching the Juga house like he had so many times before. But today was different. He wasn't just stalking. He was hunting. He waited until Kaye and Kaye were inside. Then he moved fast, silent, like a shadow, staying low, avoiding cameras. The garage door was still open. He walked straight into the house. There were 90 seconds of silence. Then, one gunshot. 16 seconds later, a second. Then 5 more, in rapid succession. The sound shattered the quiet neighborhood. A doorbell cam across the street captured the muffled pops. 7 in total. Kaye was drying her hair. She thought it was something falling. Then she heard the scream. Not just any scream, her daughter's scream. She ran toward the sound. In the hallway, she froze. Standing at the doorway of her daughter's room was Martis, with a gun in his hand. She begged him, "You don't have to do this." He looked her straight in the eyes. "Yes, I have to." And he pulled the trigger. Kaye was hit in the arm and chest. She fled, bleeding, locking herself inside the master bathroom. From the floor, she called 911, gasping through sobs. "Someone shot my daughter. I think it was her ex-boyfriend. I can't get to her. I don't know if she's alive." The police would later confirm the killer had already fled. Martis Fuller was gone. Kaye was dying alone. The first deputies from the Kenosha Sheriff's Department arrived within minutes. They rushed through the front door, weapons drawn, searching every corner. But the house was silent. No shooter. Just chaos. In the back bedroom, they found Kaye Juga collapsed over her daughter, her body covered in blood, her arm hanging uselessly at her side. Despite her own injuries, she was performing CPR, pressing on Kaye's chest, whispering her name. She refused to stop. "It was very painful," she later said, "but I didn't care. Trying to save her was more important." But it was too late. Kaye had been shot 5 times, 4 in the chest, 1 in the head. Even if a trauma surgeon had been standing over her the moment the shots were fired, they wouldn't have been able to save her. She was pronounced dead in her own bedroom. Kaye was rushed to a nearby hospital for emergency surgery. Even there, she couldn't stop asking, "Is my daughter okay?" The answer would crush her for the rest of her life. The police knew who they were looking for. Kaye didn't just suspect her daughter's ex-boyfriend, she saw him. Face to face. Gun in hand. Martis Fuller, 15 years old. A boy who used to eat at their dinner table. Who played catch with her youngest son in the yard. Who opened Christmas gifts in this very home. And now, had turned it into a crime scene. Inside the house, detectives worked quickly. They found 7 shell casings. 1 was lodged under a console table. Blood droplets lined the stairway. Furniture was blown apart after SWAT had to force open a locked bedroom door, unsure if the shooter was still inside. In Kaye's room, the pattern of shell casings told the story. A tight cluster in front of the mirror, a downward trajectory. Investigators believe Martis stood over her as she lay on the ground and fired the final shot execution style. Outside, Between the Juga house and the park, they found a single bullet, the same kind used in the murder. It had likely fallen from Martis's pocket on his way to kill. This was no random act. This was planned, calculated, cold, and soon, detectives would uncover just how deep the obsession had gone. At first, everything seemed normal. Kaye Juga, 15 years old, a high achiever, cheerleader, honor roll student. Martis Fuller, same age, a promising athlete, quarterback of the football team. When Kaye first brought Martis home, he was polite, charming, even helpful. He'd sit down for dinner with the family. He played with Kaye's little brother, Mason. He stayed over to watch movies. He even spent Christmas Day at the Juga house. To everyone watching, they were the perfect teen couple. But inside the relationship, things were not what they seemed. Over time, Martis became possessive. He demanded to know where Kaye was, at all times. If she was home, he insisted on staying on video call, even when she was doing homework or brushing her teeth. When she went out with friends, he flooded her phone with calls and texts, sometimes over 50 in a night. Stephanie, Kaye's mother, noticed the behavior and sat Martis down. She told him gently, "You're overwhelming her." He laughed and kept calling. Then came the rumors. Kaye heard Martis might be talking to another girl. When she asked him about it, he flipped it on her, accusing her of cheating. The drama exploded on social media, screenshots, tweets, public meltdowns. One girl posted, "Weren't you just hanging out with another girl yesterday? Kaye deserves better." Another tweet from Kaye read, "Can never believe me. I swear to God." Sick and tired of this, the relationship was turning toxic. And worse, dangerous. Then came the school incident. At Bradford High School, Martis blocked Kaye in a hallway and demanded her phone. She was terrified. School security had to restrain him. Administrators warned, if it happened again, he'd be expelled. They changed his class schedule. They ordered him to stay away from Kaye. But Martis didn't care. Just weeks later, he cornered her again, on camera. And this time, there were witnesses. He was expelled from school. And that's when something inside him snapped. He lost everything in one moment. No school, no football, no friends, and worst of all, no Kaye. He became obsessed with winning her back, or punishing her. He started stalking her house, pacing outside at night, staring into her window. He called her dozens of times, even using friends' phones when she blocked him. He followed her online, lurking on every post, DM, and tag location. It got so bad, Kaye had to quit her job. She couldn't stand being alone at work anymore. She wrote a heartbreaking letter to her boss. "Unfortunately, due to the situation going on in my personal life, for my safety, I will need to find a job where he won't know where I work." Kaye tried to rebuild her life. She found a new job. She blocked every number. She made her friends promise not to post her location on social media. But Martis wasn't done. He wasn't looking for closure. He was planning revenge. It started with a message. "I need to do that hit. I'm so mad. I have to do that to her." Martis Fuller wasn't just angry. He was making a plan. In the final 7 days before the murder, his movements became calculated. He wasn't acting like a hurt ex-boyfriend. He was moving like a predator. Day 7, he got a gun. A real one, semi-automatic. He showed it off to friends, smiling, posing with it in photos. Day 5, he asked around for ammunition, then told someone close, "Kaye ruined my life. I want to kill her." Day 4, he stole a bike from a friend. He stashed it near Kaye's house to 10 blocks away. Day 3, he scoped the neighborhood. He stared at her window for hours, in silence. He waited in the trees across from the Juga home. But Martis didn't want to act alone. He texted his friend Desiree multiple times, "You need to do that hit with me. I'm serious this time." Thursday. She refused. But she never told anyone. She didn't warn Kaye. She didn't report it to the school. Not the police. Not even her parents. May 9th, 2019. A sunny afternoon. Just like any other, Kaye and her mom, Stephanie, returned from school. The garage door was open. Inside the house, they laughed, played music. Kaye danced. Stephanie blow-dried her hair. And in the trees across the street, Martis was watching. Wearing all black, hoodie, gloves, and sneakers, he left the cover of the trees. He ducked under cameras. He crept into the house. It took him 3 minutes and 40 seconds. The first shot came from Kaye's room. Then silence. 16 seconds later, a barrage of gunfire. 7 shots. Stephanie screamed. She'd been shot twice. She locked herself in the bathroom and called 911, not knowing if her daughter was still alive. Martis was already gone. He ran out the garage, back to the park. He stripped off his black clothes. He got back on the bike. Cameras caught him riding away fast. He thought he was safe, but he'd made one fatal mistake. He confessed. That night, Martis showed up at a cousin's house. She wasn't even close to him. They barely spoke. But he stayed the night and told her everything. How he watched the house. How he changed clothes in the trees. How he entered through the garage. How he shot Kaye and then her mom. I only meant to shoot her once, he said. But I snapped. The cousin, shaken, turned him in the next morning. And that's how police got their break. She led them to the sewer, where he had hidden the gun, wrapped in a diaper. It was a match to the murder weapon. No one would have ever found it. When police arrived at the Juga home on May 9, 2019, they found a horror scene. Kaye was unresponsive. Stephanie had been shot twice. And the shooter, he gone. There were no immediate leads, no smoking gun. But one thing was clear. Stephanie had seen his face. She told police it was Martis, my daughter's ex. He said, "Yes, I have too," and shot me. Now, the manhunt was on. But Martis Fuller had a head start. Police went to his mother's house. He wasn't there. She claimed he'd been with her from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. that day, the exact time of the murder. But the story didn't add up. A friend named Alexis told investigators something very different. I picked him up at 3:30 p.m., not from his mom's house, but from a location just blocks away from where Kaye was murdered. When she picked him up, his white sneakers were now muddy, and he was shaking. Still, police had no confirmed location. That night, Martis ran. He ended up at the home of his cousin Ananis Andrews, in Racine. He arrived around 9 p.m., visibly distressed. She hadn't seen him in months. He didn't explain much, just asked to stay. At first, she said nothing. But after watching the news, she realized what had happened. The next morning, Ananis called the police. She couldn't keep it to herself. "I wouldn't wish this on anyone," she said. "A 16-year-old girl shot and killed. And my 15-year-old cousin facing life in prison." Ananis didn't just report him. She also gave them everything. She told detectives that Martis had confessed to her. He said he watched the Juga home from the park. He knew the schedule. He waited for Kaye and Stephanie to return. He entered through the garage, shot Kaye once, then panicked and kept shooting. When Stephanie saw him and begged him not to do it, he said, "Yes, I have to," and shot her too. Then he changed clothes, ditched the gun, and fled the scene. It was the break the case needed. But it wasn't over. With Ananis's help, police found the murder weapon, hidden in a sewer, wrapped in a baby diaper, thrown away in Racine. The gun matched the bullets. The bullets matched the casings. The casings matched the wounds. It was the exact same firearm Martis had posed with in photos just days before. He had no alibi. He had no excuse. And now, police had his confession. But even with all that, Martis still claimed he was innocent. When asked if he killed Kaye, he said, "No. But I'm sorry for what happened." By the time Martis Fuller was brought to court, the evidence was stacked sky high. A 15-year-old girl dead. Her mother shot, but survived to testify. A cousin's confession. Surveillance footage. A murder weapon hidden in a sewer. And yet, Martis sat in court, expressionless, like none of it mattered. The trial began in May 2020. On the stand, Stephanie Juga relived the most painful moment of her life. "I ran out of the bathroom. I saw him, Martis. I said, 'Please, you don't have to do this.' He said, 'Yes, I do.' Then he shot me." She didn't flinch, didn't cry. She stood in front of the man who tried to kill her and spoke the truth. Then came Ananis Andrews, the cousin who turned him in. At first, she held back. But when police asked her to imagine it had been her own daughter, something shifted. She came clean. He told me everything. He waited for them to come home. He was only going to shoot once, but once he started, he couldn't stop. Her words matched the surveillance video. They matched the shell casings. They matched the timeline. It was airtight. The prosecution showed it all. Martis's photos with the gun. His attempt to recruit a friend to do the hit. His own internet searches. And the damning moment, "I'm so mad, you need to do that to her." A message sent just hours before the murder. But what truly shook the courtroom wasn't evidence, it was Martis himself. Throughout the trial, he was blank, cold, until the verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. Suddenly, the mask cracked. Martis tore off his face covering and began to sob, not out of remorse, but because he knew, at just 16 years old, he was going to spend the rest of his life in prison. After the guilty verdict, the courtroom fell silent. No cheers, no celebration, just the heavy, suffocating weight of finality. Martis Fuller, just 16 years old, was now a convicted murderer. The judge looked him dead in the eyes. "You are a dangerous and damaged human being. You have no remorse, no empathy. You are only for you. I sentence you to life, without the possibility of parole." Martis didn't speak for himself. His lawyer read a prepared statement. "I'm sorry about what happened to Kaye, but I'm innocent. I know it looks bad, but I didn't do it." The courtroom didn't buy it. No apology, no accountability, just another denial. Kaye Juga, despite the pain, stood strong. She spoke of her daughter, the girl who lit up every room, who made everyone laugh, who just wanted to feel safe again. She had 5 birthdays without us, 5 years of memories stolen, and it still feels like it happened yesterday. Kaye Juga was more than a victim. She was a cheerleader, a sister, a brilliant young girl with dreams. And now, her story is a warning about how obsession, when left unchecked, how controlling behavior, when ignored, can become a loaded weapon. Martis Fuller now sits behind bars at Green Bay Correctional Institute with nothing but time and silence. And while he may still get visits from his family, Kaye's seat at the table will always be empty. Ending message YouTube style. If this story shook you, don't just move on. Share it, comment your thoughts, and make sure you're subscribed, because we uncover the cases that others are too afraid to tell. This was the heartbreaking story of Kaye Juga, and we'll never forget her. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Was this preventable? Could more have been done to protect Kaye? And most importantly, share this video. You never know, it might help someone spot the warning signs before it's too late. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware. This is True Crime Chronicles.